In 1580, Veronica Franco stood naked before the Venetian Inquisition, accused of witchcraft, heresy, and corrupting the souls of Venice's most powerful men. But she wasn't just any woman. She was Venice's most celebrated courtesan, a poet who had slept with kings and cardinals, and whose scandalous letters would expose the dark sexual underbelly of the Renaissance's most decadent city. The charges: that she had used black magic to seduce married noblemen, hosted orgies in her palazzo, and taught other women the forbidden arts of pleasure for profit. But was Veronica Franco truly a witch, or simply too powerful for a world that demanded women remain silent? This is Venice in the 1500s, where golden ducats flowed like water and moral boundaries dissolved in the lagoon's mist. While other European cities burned women at the stake for adultery, Venice had transformed female sexuality into its most profitable export. Here, the courtigiana onesta, the honest courtesans, weren't mere prostitutes. They were Renaissance Italy's most educated women, fluent in Latin and Greek, composing poetry that rivaled Petrarch, and commanding prices that could bankrupt merchant families. A single night with Tullio d'Aragona cost more than a craftsman earned in a year. The Venetian government published an official catalogue of these women, the Tariffa delle Puttane, listing their specialties, prices and addresses like a merchant's ledger. Foreign visitors could purchase copies at the Rialto Bridge alongside maps and currency exchange rates. But beneath Venice's glittering facade of tolerance lurked a darker truth. Church records reveal that by 1550, over 11,000 women worked in Venice's sex trade, in a city of just 170,000. The state didn't just permit this industry, it regulated it, taxed it, and used these women as unofficial diplomats to extract political secrets from foreign ambassadors. The most successful courtesans lived like queens in marble palazzos along the Grand Canal, their salons hosting philosophers, artists, and the Pope's own nephews. Yet they remained legal non-entities, unable to own property, make wills, or even walk certain streets during daylight hours. This contradiction would prove explosive. Veronica Franco's rise began with a lie. Born to a prostitute in 1546, she reinvented herself as the daughter of a minor nobleman, using forged documents and carefully coached speech. By age 20, her client list read like a directory of European power: Henri III of France, Jacopo Tintoretto, and Cardinal Luigi d'Este. But Franco's true genius wasn't in her bedroom, it was in her study. Contemporary accounts describe her library as rivaling those of university scholars, filled with banned books on philosophy, alchemy, and what the church termed unnatural practices. She corresponded with intellectuals across Europe, her letters crackling with wit that often veered into dangerous territory. In one surviving letter to a Venetian senator, she wrote, "When we too are armed and trained, we can convince men that we have hands, feet, and a heart like yours." Such words from any other woman would have meant immediate exile or worse. Franco's palazzo became ground zero for Venice's sexual revolution. Diplomatic reports describe evening gatherings where married noblewomen would arrive in masks to learn what their husbands discovered in the city's pleasure districts. French ambassador Michel de Montaigne wrote of witnessing arts of Venus unknown to Christian marriage being demonstrated by Franco's associates. The most shocking discovery came from her preserved account books. Franco didn't just sell her body, she sold transformation. Wealthy merchants paid enormous sums for her to teach their wives the Greek arts of pleasure. Bored noblewomen commissioned private tutorials on the secrets of the Orient. She even offered what she called Roman instruction, elaborate historical role plays that allowed clients to live out their most forbidden fantasies. One particularly scandalous entry details a month-long academy she conducted for the wives of 3 Venetian senators, teaching them the complete arts of Venus as practiced in the courts of antiquity. The women reportedly paid 500 ducats each, equivalent to buying a small palace, but it was her catalogue of sexual services, preserved in the Venetian state archives, that reveals the true extent of Renaissance debauchery. Franco offered everything from Greek instruction to elaborate role-playing scenarios involving religious figures. One surviving invoice details a 3-day Roman triumph she staged for a visiting German prince, complete with actresses portraying violated Vestal virgins and a mock crucifixion that scandalized even Venice's jaded elite. More disturbing were the testimonies of her influence over Venice's convents. Several nuns later confessed that Franco had infiltrated their communities, offering spiritual counsel that involved teaching them to know their bodies as God created them. The abbess of San Lorenzo was found with erotic poetry in Franco's handwriting hidden beneath her prayer books. The scandal that would destroy her began with jealousy. In 1576, Franco had refused the advances of Ridolfo Vanitelli, a minor poet who believed his verses entitled him to her bed without payment. But Vanitelli's revenge was calculated and cruel. He compiled evidence of Franco's heresies and presented them to the Holy Office. The charges were devastating. Witnesses testified that Franco had performed Jewish rituals to enhance her sexual power, kept books of spells written by condemned witches, and most damning of all, had taught young girls from noble families the corruption of their natural shame. Church investigators found in her possession astrological charts for determining the most fertile times for her clients' wives to conceive, implying she was actively sabotaging Christian marriages. The trial began in autumn 1580, held in the dank chambers beneath the Doge's palace. Franco appeared without legal counsel, having exhausted her fortune on bribes that failed to prevent her arrest. The Inquisition's records, discovered in the 1960s, reveal testimony that would shock even modern readers. A former servant claimed Franco had forced her to participate in rituals involving the corruption of holy sacraments for carnal purposes. She described ceremonies where Franco would consecrate wine and bread, then use them in sexual acts designed to bind her clients to her will. Another witness described seeing Franco's clients branded with mysterious symbols using heated silver coins, marks that would ensure their return and prevent them from finding satisfaction elsewhere. Most explosive were allegations that she had infiltrated Venice's most exclusive convent, seducing nuns and teaching them to pleasure each other. Sister Benedetta of Santa Clara testified that Franco had convinced her that the love between women was the purest form of divine worship, leading to a scandal that nearly brought down the entire Venetian church hierarchy. The prosecution produced love letters Franco had written to married women, including the wife of the Doge himself. These letters, filled with explicit descriptions of physical acts, proved she had corrupted not just men, but the very women Venice held as paragons of virtue. But Franco's defense was masterful. Rather than denying the charges, she reframed them. Yes, she had studied forbidden texts to better serve Venice's interests by extracting secrets from foreign visitors. Yes, she had taught women sexual arts to prevent them from seeking such knowledge in truly heretical circles. Her final argument struck at the heart of Venetian hypocrisy. If my arts are evil, then every marriage bed in this city conceals the same sin. If knowledge of pleasure corrupts the soul, then you must condemn not just courtesans, but every wife who has learned to satisfy her husband's desires. The Inquisition faced an impossible choice. Convicting Franco would expose the sexual secrets of half the city's elite, but absolving her would legitimize practices the church had condemned for centuries. In the end, Veronica Franco vanished from history as mysteriously as she had appeared. The trial records end abruptly in December 1580, with no verdict recorded. Some historians believe she was quietly executed in the Piombi prison. Others claim powerful clients arranged her escape to France, where she lived under an assumed name until 1591. What survived were her writings, poems and letters that would inspire centuries of female authors to claim their right to sexual expression. Her defiant words to the Inquisition became a rallying cry. "I am a woman and I write, and I will not apologize for either." But Franco's true legacy lies in what she exposed about power and desire in the Renaissance. Venice's courtesans weren't anomalies. They were inevitable products of a society that worshipped beauty while demonizing the women who embodied it. They accumulated knowledge, wealth, and influence precisely because they existed outside traditional power structures. The documents preserved in Venetian archives reveal a startling truth. These women knew more state secrets than most senators, held more liquid wealth than established merchants, and influenced cultural trends across Europe. Franco's personal correspondence shows she had advanced knowledge of military campaigns, trade negotiations, and even papal elections, information she gathered pillow by pillow, then sold to the highest bidder. Yet history remembers them primarily as expensive prostitutes. The Catholic Church's successful campaign to erase their intellectual achievements means we've lost treatises on philosophy, mathematics, and natural science written by some of the Renaissance's most brilliant minds. Perhaps that's the most scandalous revelation of all, that Renaissance Venice created a class of women more powerful than queens, then erased their achievements to preserve the fiction of male supremacy. Today, as we debate women's autonomy over their bodies and sexuality, Veronica Franco's final question echoes across the centuries. If a woman cannot own her pleasure, what can she truly own? The answer may be more disturbing than the secrets Venice tried so hard to bury in the lagoon's dark waters.